如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停，就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。我们开始吧。
A quiet knock can change a life when you least expect it. Long ago, in a small town by a cold river, there lived a boy named Eli. People said the river sang at night. People also said Eli was born with trouble following him like a shadow. He did not believe that. He just thought life had sharp edges. His father kept a tiny shop that sold simple tools. Folks stopped by when they needed rope, or nails, or a tin cup for hot soup. Business was slow, but days were steady. One winter, a storm rolled in early. The sky turned thick and gray. The river groaned under the weight of ice. Eli helped his father close the shop early. As he pulled down the heavy wooden shutter, he slipped on the frozen step. He fell hard. His knee screamed in pain. For a moment he just lay there, snowflakes melting on his face. His father rushed over and helped him inside. The pain stayed. His knee swelled like a small stone under his skin. The doctor said he should rest for many days. Eli hated this. He felt useless. He felt stuck. His friends played out in the cold fields, and he watched from the window like a bird in a cage. He did not know this small fall was the first crack in a long chain of events that would shift the ground under his feet. One night, as he sat by the fire, he heard that quiet knock. It sounded scared, almost shy. He thought it might be the wind. But the knock came again. His father opened the door. A girl stood outside. She was soaked from the melting storm. Her brown coat clung to her arms. She looked like she had walked for miles. She said her name was Mara. She asked if they had a warm place where she could rest. Her voice shook like a loose door in the wind. Eli's father let her in without a second thought. She thanked them and sat by the fire. Eli noticed that she kept touching a small cloth bag at her side, like she was guarding something precious. For a long time, no one spoke. The fire popped. The wind pushed against the shutter. Finally, Mara said she had lost her way in the storm. She said she was searching for a man who could fix something. But she spoke so slowly Eli wondered if she was hiding parts of the truth. Her eyes kept moving, as if she feared someone might follow her. Days passed. Mara helped in the shop. She swept the floor. She counted nails. She made tea that tasted like summer even though the world outside froze. Eli still could not walk well, so Mara brought him books from a small shelf in the corner. He had never read so much before. The stories helped him forget the pain. They helped him forget the fear he saw in her eyes. One afternoon, while Eli wrapped a cup in old paper for a customer, he heard Mara whisper to his father. Her voice cracked. She said someone was looking for her. Someone angry. Someone who wanted the bag she carried. She said she did not mean to bring danger into their home. She said she would leave at sunrise. That night, Eli could not sleep. He watched the shadows slide across the wall. He thought about his fall. He thought about how his hurt knee kept him home. If he had been outside with his friends that day, Mara might have knocked on a cold, empty door. If she had kept walking, she might have fallen into the frozen river. He felt something warm rise inside him, a kind of courage he had never known. Before dawn, he made a choice. He slid out of bed, grabbed his coat, and limped outside. The ground crunched under his boots. The air felt sharp in his lungs. He waited by the shop door until Mara stepped out. She jumped when she saw him. He said she did not have to walk alone. She said he should go home. But he just shook his head. They walked toward the river path as the sun rose like a pale coin behind the clouds. Eli could feel each step in his knee, but he kept going. Mara held the cloth bag close. She told him what was inside. It was a piece of metal, plain and dark, shaped like a broken star. She said it was a tool her father made before he died. She said someone wanted it because they believed it had hidden worth, though she did not know what that worth was. Eli listened. He noticed how her voice softened when she spoke about her father. He knew loss could make a heart heavy. He also knew secrets could trap a person. He felt the weight of both in her words. When they reached the old mill by the river, Eli saw a man waiting. He wore a long coat. His boots were too clean for someone who walked far. Mara froze. Eli felt his stomach drop. The man called her name. His tone was calm, almost friendly, but the calm felt wrong, like a quiet before a storm changes shape. Eli stepped in front of Mara. His legs shook. He had never stood up to anyone like this. The man smiled, but not with his eyes. He said the bag belonged to him. He said Mara had run from a promise. She whispered that the promise was a lie. The man reached out. Mara pulled back. The world seemed to narrow until Eli could hear his own breath pounding in his ears. "Leave her," Eli said. The words came out thin, but they held steady. The man frowned. He did not like being told no by a boy who limped. He moved closer. Eli felt the urge to run, but he held his ground. And then something shifted. A sound rose from the river. A low groan. The ice cracked like a warning. The man turned his head for just one breath. And that breath was enough. Mara grabbed Eli's sleeve. "Run," she whispered. Eli did not think. He just moved. They slipped behind the old mill. The man shouted their names. His voice hit the cold air like a whip. Eli and Mara climbed the narrow hill that led to the pine grove. Branches slapped their coats. Snow fell from the trees, making soft thumps as it hit the ground. Eli's knee throbbed. Each step felt like fire. But he kept going. Mara kept checking if he was still right behind her. She looked scared, but she also looked like someone who had run too long and was tired of running alone. When they reached the grove's edge, they stopped to catch their breath. The world felt too quiet. Eli listened. No steps behind them. No voice. No crunch of boots. Only the slow drip of melting ice. Mara knelt and opened her cloth bag. Inside was the strange piece of metal. It looked simple. But up close, the edges showed tiny marks, like symbols worn down by time. She said her father believed it was part of a device. A small one. A forgotten one. Something that could read the flow of water deep under the earth. A tool for people who listen to rivers. Eli touched the metal. It felt warm, like it held a memory. Mara said she had been trying to bring it to an old craftsman in the next town. Someone who had worked with her father. Someone who might know what the piece truly meant. But the man chasing her wanted to sell it to whoever would pay. He believed rare metal meant easy gold. Eli understood then that Mara was not just running. She was trying to protect the last thing her father had made with his hands. The last thing that proved he once stood in this world. They waited until morning light grew stronger. Then they made their way down the hill, staying close to the trees. Eli's knee slowed them, but Mara never rushed him. She walked beside him, steady and quiet. Like she had chosen to trust him without saying it out loud. They reached the next town near midday. Smoke curled from the chimneys. The air smelled like warm bread. They found the craftsman in a tiny shed behind a barn. He had gray hair that fell over his eyes and hands that looked like they had shaped 1,000 things. When Mara showed him the metal, he froze. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he smiled. Not a big smile. Just a soft one that felt real. He said Mara's father had been a friend. He said the metal was not rare because of gold. It was rare because it carried a map. A silent one. A map made of weight and pattern. A map that told where the river's bones lay underground. He said it could help people find clean water in places where wells had dried. He said it was a gift, not a treasure. Something made to guide, not to sell. Mara's eyes filled with tears. Not sad ones. The kind that fall when the world finally explains itself. The craftsman promised to protect the piece. He promised to finish what Mara's father had started. He said Mara could stay as long as she needed. Eli felt something ease inside him, like a knot untied. When it was time to leave, Mara walked Eli back to the road. She held his hand for a while. She said he had changed the story. She said she would not forget. On the way home, Eli thought about everything. His fall. His hurt knee. The quiet knock. Mara's fear. The frozen river. The strange metal. The chase through the trees. He realized that if he had not slipped that winter day, none of this would have happened. Mara would have kept wandering. The tool would have fallen into the wrong hands. And Eli would never have found the courage he did not know he had. When he returned home, his father hugged him longer than usual. Eli told him the story. All of it. His father listened without interrupting. When Eli finished, his father said something simple: sometimes trouble is just a door, and the right person walks through. Eli looked at the shutter where he had slipped weeks before. The step was still cracked. His knee still ached when he moved too fast. But now the pain felt different. Like a mark of a path that mattered. Days turned warmer. Snow melted. The river loosened its ice. Life felt steady again. But Eli carried the memory like a small lantern inside him. He knew now that not every bad moment was an ending. Some were beginnings wearing rough coats. And that is where the old saying grew roots. People in the town began to repeat it. They said Eli's fall was a blessing in disguise. They said life sometimes hides its gifts under sharp edges and cold nights. They said you only see the shape of the gift after you walk through the storm. Years later, when Eli told this story to others, he always added one small truth. Not every disguise is easy to forgive. Not every blessing feels gentle. But some of the strongest beginnings arrive looking like the worst days. And sometimes a single knock can shift the whole world.
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目。如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞，或者留下评论，这对我很重要。我们下个视频见。